Okay.
Me on an airplane.
Here. Okay, this is good. This is fun. Okay, so who are you? What and where did you study? And what are you doing these days?
Great question. I'm Clara, and it feels like a wilderness. Like, why are you here?
Yeah.
What brings you here?
What brings you here?
Well, the outdoors is where I feel most comfortable, and I love bringing other people out with me. And I did not know that counseling was going to be the track to that, because there are so many other ways that you could just experience the outdoors and guiding. But so it went that, you know, from guiding to wilderness therapy to counseling seems like a natural progression. And I looked at a lot of programs and thought, K-Crep, that's the way to go, because you just leave and just have to get licensure, which was a very naive thing, because there are so many other hoops that you do have to remember and stay updated, especially when I chose to go to a school in Arizona, so Prescott, where I did my master's of counseling and adventure-based counseling certificate, and got the EDS, which they released while I was in the program, for experiential counseling and adventure-based therapies.
Okay, so you got your master's and these additional 2 certifications.
One's a certification, and an EDS is really interesting. It's between actually a master's and a PhD.
Wow. Okay.
So I wrote a program while I was in that program. And that kind of speaks to my transition out of there. So as you know, you do your internship in one place and you can keep going. You can keep trying different things. So I started at Northwest Youth Discovery, and they have this land that is all like farm-ish. So it was very natural for us to already go outside and do something experiential, adventure-based, nature-based. And not necessarily coming out with any tools, just kind of noticing what's already there and picking it up. And that's a principle of like challenge by choice, but also scaling to whatever people are noticing.
Okay.
There's also, after school, I continue to kind of wonder, like, when am I going to do some of my own adventure therapy, because I haven't been hearing about any place where you could do wheel therapy, which is the term that I developed in my program to describe what I believe is like there's a point of access for everybody. Any wheel, so many wheels, whether you're thinking or experiencing them, and that is all experiential, which is also nature-based and adventure-based. Stringing that to Children Are Our Future is a fiscal sponsor of adventure-based programs. So the program that I developed in school basically provided them with my plan, and they accepted it.
Wow.
So a friend and I who met in a program virtually, are actually in Washington and Oregon developing True Wheel.
True Wheel. Okay.
So that's one way that you can do adventure therapy outside of the typical wilderness expectation, or maybe there is no typical, actually, when I think about it, because if you,
Okay, so it sounds like you interned at Northwest Youth Discovery and got got a little bit of experience there practicing what it is that you want to do here and there where you could, using what's already there. But then you found like a fiscal sponsor through, what was it called, Children of the Future?
Children Are Our Future.
Children Are Our Future, to like do your own thing.
Right.
And can you talk a little bit about what it is that you're imagining doing that is your own thing, or that you will do?
Yeah, so it's kind of speaking to me looking at what is available in our community and seeing that there are essentially gaps if you know where to look, and wondering how to provide people with something therapeutic in lieu of aligned to therapy, or feeling comfortable with a therapist, and kind of just like scaffolding people to have an experience wherever they're at. So the dream is to take people out on bike rides and roller skating, skateboarding, ceramics. Like, can you think of another wheel?
Probably.
We want to include that.
Whoa, okay.
The idea is like there's something for everyone, and I think that is something that is very missing from this area, where you can find something that's extremely athletic, or perhaps like an expedition that you need to pay a certain amount for. Where is this in between where you can have like something therapeutic that you can either call therapy or not based on your goals.
Interesting. And that will be in some ways paid for,
yeah,
or at least made accessible.
The beauty of working with a fiscal sponsor, it's like, well, what are we going to do? We're going to get grants to run this program. Otherwise you're just kind of getting into this process of like, I just take your money.
Which just makes it so inaccessible. It sounds like you're talking about those barriers that like people that would benefit from like the program you're designing or facing, since you probably can't bill insurance for what you're doing.
No, and there are definitely, if you look at like different models of adventure therapy and community-based work, it's like, well, there are so many ways of making this more accessible, like by doing a subscription model or something like that, where people can earn something that will give them the freedom to ride forever. Like I've heard of these programs where it's just like, I want to develop those relationships with bike shops, where it's like maybe this person will learn how to fix bikes and then they can have this bike and they'll be part of that process. And
very cool.
There's something for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just about like doing the thing, it's about like understanding the thing you're doing.
So right now, as you develop that, you're also like seeing individual clients, like with your like LPCA or whatever it is that you have right now. How, if at all, do you incorporate any like adventure-based stuff or any non-traditional stuff into your work with clients right now?
Yeah, I honestly, there's like a wealth of information. You might find me doing like the same thing all day with people. That's my secret. I'm like, this is my intervention of the day. And then everyone just blows my mind. I'm like, wow, I've done this intervention like 15 times and I feel more grounded. So I hope that they do too. But this is a really awesome book.
Growth.
Facilitated growth.
Oh, okay.
So games that you can play that kind of encourage wellness, and there's a lot of stuff in here that might seem too absurd to try with a client, like blindfolding them and sending them through a maze of mousetraps.
I feel what you're saying. Yeah.
And then the metaphor of just talking about the struggle a butterfly has to go to get out of the cocoon without your help. You know?
So you do things like that when I imagine that, I imagine like being at summer camp on a ropes course. But you do stuff like
summer camp is pretty much the foundation to wilderness, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's so cool that you do that stuff where you're working right now.
It's very common for a client to come in and I just have cards scattered all over the floor.
Amazing. Wow, I want to be your client a little. Cool. Okay, so tell us a little bit about more of the logistic side of things, as far as like folks who do things like you're describing, scattered cards on the floor. How are they billing insurance? Are they billing insurance? How do you get paid?
60 minutes. I mean, you can also add interactive complexity if you believe it. There's that code.
Okay.
If you're thinking about that.
So you do just experiential, like micro-dosing adventure therapy, adventure-based work, and just bill it like anything else.
I mean, for those of us who are familiar with simple practice, you have like all those different interventions that you could do. So you write a little sentence in each, and I think more often than not, I find myself in the experiential category and Adlerian category, and like down there in the I add other nature-based or experience. Like again, you can put an experiential because there's that. This bilateral stimulation, which is going on a walk outside. Why not?
Yeah, love it. Okay, so you went to a program kind of specifically tailored to get you these educations. This education. The people watching this video are not in that sort of program. What?
Not yet.
Not yet. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty done being in programs right now, but you know, maybe in the future.
Yeah.
What can I do when I graduate to access this kind of thing?
The thing that's really nice is that you live in Bend, where there's a lot of folks who have, for example, I think of Savannah DeLuca, who has Wild Heart Therapies. And honestly, if you search her name, every other week she does something in the community or with prospective therapists. Like, she's active in doing adventure-based trainings. She's taught at Prescott. That's where I met her, and she runs intensives, like, to kind of introduce people to adventure-based therapies.
Very cool.
Just to say that you could probably go to an intensive through Prescott if they have the spots for it, and that might be a little pricier than your average vacation, but the nourishment you get from kind of being with so many people who are actively learning about how they could do this, it's very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And are there any, like, organizations or groups or something like that you would recommend if we're really into this sort of thing, joining or learning from?
I think as a student you get a discount rate to AEE.
What's AEE?
Something.
The PowerPoint.
Association of Experiential Education.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they also have a chapter that's specific to therapists, TAPG.
TAPG. Okay.
TAPG.
TAPG. I won't ask you what that one stands for.
Thank you. Professional group is the last two. Therapeutic Adventure Professional Group.
Okay. Something like
Straight
that.
look at the camera.
Well,
but that's like your Facebook. If you want to connect with people, you will always have people who are like, I'm looking to every kind of inquiry. Like, very, whatever you think is the most basic, it is there. And whatever is the most complicated, people asking for research participants, it's there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Like, concrete resource.
Yes, and because AEE is such a international thing, they have conferences every year. We have a meetup that's like Northwest region. That's like next month.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you. Anything else you want to say or plug or?
People in that community really do want to like support you, and yeah, we even, it kind of links people together. So I've met therapists in the community who knew someone in AEE who told them to come here. Then there's so I got this certificate, but once you're fully licensed, you qualify for a CCAT, and you don't have to do the certificate. You can just go to these conferences and take up these classes that kind of give you this foundations that you already know through experience, and then after a certain point you can kind of sign up for having a certificate clinical adventure therapy.
Clinical adventure therapy.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds amazing.
They really do need to change the name for the supervisors, because that one is SCAT.
Great. Well, on that note, thank you so much for your time.